And people feel accused because I did a lot of exit interviews. So in other words, at the end of our time, I'd say, hey, let me just check real quick. I was curious what happened to you when he kept asking you, why do you feel that way? Why do you act like that? Why do you do that? And she'd say, well, I felt attacked. I felt that he was, judging me, accusing me. And I heard that over and over and over again. So again, I'm thinking, well, then just X that out of the equation. We ask why in science and math and, planetary patterns and stuff. Why does Jupiter do that? But not with interpersonal relationships, with interactions. It just doesn't work. So we just throw it out. We just don't do that anymore.
Fascinating. Yeah. So incredible dedication, incredible research. But how did this turn into what we now know as the connection codes? So, Phyllis, I think you have some insight into that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, part of it, of course, as you've said, came out of our own story. And, Glenn is developing all of this in his private practice. And I, on the other side, am running my own company. So we were both very busy people. But he would bring home some of his research and, talk about what causes disconnection. And at that point, I thought, do we really want to know what causes disconnection, or do we want to find what causes connection? And for me, I'm like, I want to know how to connect with you better. And we had so much pain in our own marriage, our own story, that I'm like, I could write a book about what disconnected us. So let's talk about what connected us, and let's go in that direction. And that's during that time, so much of what Glenn was discovering also had to do with emotion. And for me, that was the aha moment. That was the huge shift, because I was definitely raised in a faith-based family where emotions were bad. Other than joy, choose joy. That was kind of the motto in our family, choose joy. And I did not. I was really, my mind was blown when Glenn started talking about the brain and that we all have emotion, and that emotion happens to you. And I'm like, wait a minute. No, that is not, you choose emotion. And I had opted out a long time ago. And I used to say, really very seriously, hey, Glenn has enough emotion for both of us. I don't do emotion. And so when he started bringing home this research, I'm like, oh my word, like this, I just cannot even believe that I've never heard this before. And how can our faith-based foundation be teaching the opposite of the truth of what is happening in our bodies and what's happening in our mind? And it just shifted everything for me in such a huge way that I had never considered. And, for me, once I understood the God piece, and I'm like, okay, God created me. So God put an emotion in my brain. Now I wanted to know all about it. And I wanted to understand what I'd been missing. And it started making more and more sense that, the emotion you experience is so different than the emotion I experience as far as in everyday life. We both have a fear region in our brain, but what causes me fear is very different than what causes him fear. And it's like, wow, no wonder we miss each other all the time, because we were kind of running life through there's a right and a wrong. There's a black and there's a white, and there's nothing in between. And it's like, wow, when you put the emotion piece in there, it changes everything, because then you go, oh, you just feel fear about that, and I don't. And so for us, it just took the judgment out. And then all of a sudden we could see each other for who we were and go, oh man.